Alright, so let's recreate this lead sound using Vital.Audio. I'm going to start from scratch, so I'll click over here and choose Initialize Preset. This is what it sounds like. So you get this basic sawtooth tone, and the envelope is also fairly basic. I want to ensure that there's no attack and very little release. So you get that very tight organ-like shape for the amp envelope. Alright, in terms of the oscillator, I'm going to leave this first one as is. I'm just going to reduce his phase randomization to 0, and I'm going to set the actual phase to 0 as well. So every time the note is triggered, the oscillator always starts from this very first position. So we get some consistency in the tonality there. I'm going to turn on the second oscillator, and I'm going to set this to an octave below. So hold down Shift, click and drag downwards so it jumps down an octave. And I want to introduce a specific effect. I want to introduce the oscillator hard sync effect into the sound. So firstly, let's set the phase randomization to 0 and the actual phase to 0 as well. And in this drop-down menu here, we have oscillator hard sync. So let's have a listen to what this sounds like by itself. So that's your classic oscillator hard sync sound. Now I do not want to modulate this, I just want a static effect. So I'll set it somewhere over here, maybe 64 point something. I'll bring the level down here because I don't want this to be too dominant in the mix. A little bit of that honkiness in the sound, and let's mix that in with the main sawtooth oscillator. Alright, I'm actually going to bring the level further down here. Alright, just want a little bit of that in the background. So that's pretty much it for the oscillators. We're not going to use a filter. Now we want to introduce some kind of honkiness in the sound, like a saxophone. And typically you could do that with a filter's resonance. But the problem is we are also filtering the sound, and I don't really want that filtered sound. So let's turn off the filter, and a better solution is to use the distortion here. Because the distortion has a filter, and the filter can be set to pre-distortion. So we filter the sound first, and then we introduce distortion, which is going to reintroduce harmonics, and it's going to sound nice and full. So let's have a listen to this. I'm going to leave the algorithm in the soft clip mode. There are other algorithms we could select here, but I'll leave it at soft clip. Let's crank up the drive. Starting to get a bit too loud, so I'll reduce the master volume here. Up the drive more. And now we can adjust the filter cutoff. And also up the resonance. So I would say this is one of the key steps in getting the sound that we're going for. There's a blend option here. As you can see, it's blending between 3 different filter types. From a low pass to a band pass to a high pass. I want it mainly in the low pass, but we can blend a little bit into the band pass here. Alright, next I want to introduce some multiband compression. So I'll turn on the compressor here. Crank up the lows, the mid-band and the highs. I don't want any upward compression, so I'll bring these sliders down. And let's introduce some regular downward compression. Alright, turn off the compressor. Subtle difference there. But I think that works pretty well. Now we can introduce some spatial processing like reverb and delay. It's a bit too much. Let's move the delay after the distortion. And let's also filter the delay. Get it closer towards the low end. I'm going to switch to ping pong delay. Let's set this to a quarter note on both ends. And set the mix way lower. Alright, you can tweak the reverb, but I'm fine with the default settings here. Now lastly, I want to introduce some EQing. Further shape the sound. I want to cut all those low frequencies. To enhance the honkiness, let's boost some mid frequencies over here. And let's also brighten up some of the highs. And that is pretty much the sound. Let's hear this in context. Alright, so there you have it. The lead sound from BTS is Butter. I hope you found that helpful. Please stay tuned for more.